So, my first question is that recently Sam Pitroda, the Congress leader, suggested the idea of having inheritance tax in India, like USA. So, sir, what's your take on that?
First of all, USA में तो inheritance tax है नहीं. They don't have inheritance tax. It is called estate duty and gift tax. And in the United States, it is paid by 0.14% of the deceased in 2022. Of 2.5 million deceased, only 0.14, that is 4,000 people in the entire United States were subject to estate duty. Most estates are exempt because the exemption limit is very high, $13.6 million. And also the big estates, the really wealthy, have their money in trust. So the US example is not a good analogy for India at all. The issue is like this. Punar redistribution is something which takes place in all economies, all societies. In fact, Bharat में जो 10 साल में redistribution हुआ, it hasn't happened in 1,000 years. We've had massive increases in the welfare of rural India for the first time, and the poorest parts of India have also improved their relative status. So actually in India we are doing well. The question is, how do you achieve this? The proposal made to survey all households and businesses is impractical for many reasons. It is simply not a feasible idea. In India, 2.4% or a little bit less people pay income tax, that is personal tax. Of that group, I think not more than 1.2 million, maybe a little bit more, have personal assets which are mainly in their own residence. 77% of all household wealth is in residence, 7% in gold and durables like motorcycle, pankha, almari. So you have to survey all of this and take it away from them. Put all these people in the street if you want to have equality. But the total amount of money you will generate from this very small number compared to the rest of India will be very, very small. Now, if you take two groups of wealthy people in India, there are 12 crore people in India who have wealth of more than 100 crores, 102 crores from the data I'm seeing. Most of this wealth is tied up in their businesses. So in order for them to be forced to surrender, you have to close their businesses down. And that means the following year, there will be economic chaos. People will not have jobs, there will be starvation. So really, this will not be a sensible thing to do. The very rich, that is the Ambanis, the Adanis, the Mahindra, the Tatas, and I presume not more than 500 or less of the very rich, the billionaire class, they will emigrate from India to Dubai. Most Indian millionaires who have been leaving the country have gone to Dubai, 70% in fact, because Dubai has no income tax. And they will re-register their businesses in UAE, which means India will only be able to collect corporate taxes from them because their business will remain in India. So there will be a huge loss of wealth to India. Now, if you think about other countries, Sweden used to have a very significant inheritance tax, and Sweden is one of the highest tax countries in the world in history. But Sweden removed the inheritance tax because many of the rich were fleeing. For example, the owner of IKEA had migrated out of Sweden. And what they found after removing inheritance tax, that a lot of the wealth came back, economic growth improved, and tax collecting also improved. So with that extra taxes, they could redistribute to the less well-off in Sweden. So in fact, not having inheritance tax or wealth tax was beneficial to the ordinary Swede. Now in India, if you inflict this amount of chaos, you must bear in mind you can't do it to agricultural land. That will not be possible. Can you imagine inspectors going to Punjab and Haryana and Western UP trying to take away land? This is not going to happen. So whoever thought of this idea was not thinking very realistically. What we have now actually is a very vast improvement on what we used to have before. which is we have this incredible combination, which has almost never been achieved, of combining wealth creation through nivesh, investment, infrastructure, with redistribution. Redistribution is taking place in India, but we have managed for the first time to combine it with significant investment in future growth. So even if you were to gain something from this not very sensible idea, you are going to be taking away from your children and grandchildren. Really, nobody who wants to do this is a friend of India. And besides, there will be so much urban unrest because much of this residential wealth will be in cities and towns. And I don't think people who are being robbed of their homes will sit quietly and just move into the railway station to live in the railway park. They will be rioting. And India's political and economic chaos will immediately invite Sino-Pakistani invasion because they are waiting for an opportunity to settle scores with India and seize Indian territory. So whoever wants to do this is really not a friend of India.